What's up, YouTube? This is Mikey C here. Today, I'm going to give you my 2020 NFL Mock Draft 2-round edition. Before we get started, I hope everybody's doing well. All the craziness going on. Take care of yourself. It's really all I can say. It's crazy out there. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe right now. Give me a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. No trades in this mock draft, just so you guys know. Gets a little complicated. I'm using the NFL Draft Network model here. Best one I can find. And to start it off, let's go ahead and just make the obvious decision here. Cincinnati Bengals go ahead and take in Joe Burrow. They got to find a new quarterback. Obviously, Andy Dalton's not the answer there. Ryan Finley is not going to be the answer. Joe Burrow, amazing year this past year. AJ Green's coming back. Maybe John Ross has a better year. You already got Joe Mixon and decent offensive line. Move forward from there. Next up, Washington. They're going to give Dwayne Haskins a chance. Ron Rivera, defensive-minded coach. He did good there with some defense. You got Montez Sweat. Let's go ahead and get Chase Young on the other side. And go ahead and just wreak havoc on quarterbacks in the near future. And go ahead and fill in holes elsewhere because Chase Young's the best player in this draft. You can't pass on him. The Lions, I have possibly Okuda, but Isaiah Simmons sitting there, being able to be a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife type player for any defense, and Matt Patricia will definitely find a way to utilize all his tools. He's someone I think is going to be someone that is like an unknown. He's a unicorn. I really think he's going to be a unicorn type player because we don't know where he's going to be. He's going to be at the edge. He's going to be a safety. He's going to be a linebacker. Guy can play over the field, and I'm really excited to see where he's going to be. Next up, the Giants. They got their quarterback of the future last year in Daniel Jones. Got some defensive help, but Dexter Lawrence and Burke's still out on DeAndre Baker. Let's work on the offensive line. Not 100% sold on Wirfs, nor am I on Becton. I'm going to go with the highest graded player at the combine, Jarek Wills. Solid player, right or left tackle to start. He could be there if he gets a second contract with us, and hopefully for the next decade, protecting Daniel Jones. Next up, Miami. So many picks. Where do you go? Well, you got to have a quarterback. Tank for Tua ended up working out because they get Tua here at the 5th pick. They have 6 in the top 68, I believe, or whatever. Maybe I'm not sure what their 3rd round pick is. So build around him. Let him redshirt this year. Probably get a top 10 pick next year, and maybe get a top receiver for him next year. And this year, just do what you can with what you got in this draft and build for the future. Same probably could be said for the Chargers. They're going to take Justin Herbert here. Was arguably the best quarterback before the season started between him and Tua. Didn't have the senior year people projected him to have, but had a great senior year. Still going to be a solid quarterback. LA, you had to pounce on him. Carolina, they need help in a couple different areas. I was trying to think interior defensive line. Derek Brown could be solid. They lost James Bradbury. Jeffrey Okudah is too good to pass up here at 7. Got a new coach there in Matt Rule. He's starting to add some players. They got a wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. That's why I didn't take a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb here. Jeffrey Okudah, great option. 7th overall, Carolina. Arizona, you got your star quarterback of the future. You signed some players in on the defensive side. You still could use some secondary help. Too early for C.J. Henderson. You definitely could use some O-line help. I like Wirfs or Becton. But I also love the idea. And I know they just traded for DeAndre Hopkins. And they have Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald maybe in his last year. But this team played more 4 wide receiver sets than than any other team. I think the next 5 teams combined. It was just ridiculous. And with CeeDee Lamb here going to number 8, you're gonna get your future replacement for Larry Fitzgerald, and just have a very exciting offense with Cliff Kingsbury. I'm really looking forward to that. Next up, you got the Jaguars. They lost some defensive players this past year via trades or free agency. And I think they need to just get the best one available. And that's going to be Derek Brown. Start there. Gardner Minshew did solid. They may give him a year. Let's see what happens later on in the draft. Maybe some people fall to them. But Derek Brown, number 9. Cleveland needs offensive line help in a bad way. And having Wirfs to fall to them, I think is just going to be a blessing, because he can go and be moved inside or be on the right tackle to start, maybe even the left tackle. But Baker Mayfield's going to love this pick, because maybe it's going to give him a little bit more time, an extra second or so. If he's still got Odell Beckham, he's going to have Jarvis Landry. Now he's got Austin Hooper. This is a solid pick. The Jets lost Robbie Anderson and replaced him with Jerry Jeudy. Huge upgrade. This guy is the best route runner in the draft, arguably the best wide receiver in the draft. Sam Darnold is jumping for joy. Yeah, they need some help on the offensive line. They could use help in the defense. They need a lot of help, but I think getting Jerry Jeudy here to complement your franchise quarterback was a must. The Vegas Raiders have made some solid moves so far in the offseason. I think still they need to beef up that secondary, getting the guy that I think has got the highest IQ for a defensive back, and C.J. Henderson is a great start. Next up, you got the San Francisco 49ers, who are now here with the 13th pick after trading DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts. And what they do is they get their starting tackle of the future in Mekhi Becton. He can learn from Joe Stanley, or Joe Stanley can move into guard. And now you have Trent Brown and Becton. This offensive line is looking really nice. Speaking of offensive line, do the Bucs take Andrew Thomas here? No, I think they're going to go for the best defensive player available in my mind, and Javon Kinlaw. Yes, Ndamukong Suh is coming back, but he's not stepping on necks no more. He's not that player anymore. He just doesn't have it. He's older. He's getting long in the tooth. It is what it is. You know, he may even be a future Hall of Famer, so you got to replace him. And having Kinlaw and Vita Vea in that front down lineman for Tampa Bay for the next couple of years. Kinlaw, I think, is a very hungry player, and I think he's going to be a very, very solid, if not very spectacular defensive player in this league for years to come. The Broncos are going to give Drew Lock more weapons and take the fastest wide receiver available, pair him with Courtland Sutton. You have Melvin Gordon now on the team, with Noah Fant, also a up-and-coming tight end. They do need to beef up the offensive line. They lost some secondary players. But Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, that defense, I think this offense is going to be pretty solid. They have a very high mountain to climb, because you're going to have to knock off Kansas City to win that division. It's not going to happen this year. Vegas is up and coming. Chargers are trying to put something together, so getting some offensive weapons and Henry Ruggs, solid pick here. Atlanta, they lost some players too, just like every team in this draft here. But I think they fill a void on the secondary with Christian Fulton. I did have Clavon Chasen going on early in my mocks, but getting Fulton here, I think, is a bigger need for them. And you get a solid player, a guy to shut down T. Higgins or Justin Ross for Clemson in the championship game. So I'm interested to see what Fulton does in the NFL. Speaking of his teammate, I think the Cowboys will pounce on edge rusher Clavon Chasen with the number 17 pick. They swung and missed on Taco Charlton a couple years ago. They swung and missed on Randy Gregory because he just can't seem to stay out of trouble. They have not had that consistent edge rusher since DeMarcus Rare, I believe. Now you got stud linebackers for the future and Jalen Smith and Colin Vanderbosch. Getting Chase on here, I think is a solid pick. Dolphins up again because they have many picks. Here they get a guy, Andrew Thomas, who can move inside or stay on the outside in either tackle position. Another pick made for the future because I think that's all they're going to do this year is they're just going to draft for the future and just stack up with all their picks. They're going to probably have a high pick next year again, but go ahead and stack it up this year. And by the time 2021-22 season runs around, if they just stay the course, Miami can end up having a very solid team. And having Tua and Andrew Thomas to begin with, great start. Vegas, I think they're going to double down in the secondary. Yeah, they had Jonathan Abram there. Injuries and such kind of stunted his growth his first year, but teaming him with McKinley and having C.J. Henderson, they got Corey Littleton, as I said. Their offense is going to need some help. You got Mariota, the quarterback, so is he going to be the guy? Yeah, I see a wide receiver coming, but with this draft being so deep with wide receivers, they can get one later on. The Jaguars here, Jordan Love falling. He's not going to fall anymore. They take a chance on him. They could let him sit and learn, just like Patrick Mahomes did with Alex Smith, like Gardner Minshew. If they're smart, let him play the whole year to starting quarterback. Let Jordan Love truly just chill. Learn the system, learn the game, learn the nuances, learn everything he can, and maybe he can become Patrick Mahomes, which everybody is saying he will be. But you know that's a steep mountain to climb for a player. That's a lot to put on a man's shoulders. But if he's capable of doing it, I'd like to see it happen. Next up, Eagles. They lost Aguilar. They made some moves in the offseason that didn't complement their offensive needs. Yeah, they got Darius Slay, solid pick there. But here they're going to go after T. Higgins because they need some wide receiver help bad. And Carson Wentz is just going to love this pick because he has, in my mind, the best catch radius in this draft. So Carson Wentz doesn't even have to be 100% accurate, and still T. Higgins is going to be all over the field. Him and Hurts. If Alshon Jeffrey's coming back, or wow, this could be a very decent, if not one of the better wide receiving corps, definitely in the NFC East. Next up, Minnesota. They are in a dire need of wide receiver too after Diggs leaving, and I feel like they get Anquan Bolden's doppelganger here is not so much in how he looks, but how he plays. And Laviska Shenault, solid player, can line up as in a wildcat if needed. He's just a football player. Just give him the dang ball, That's what they say. Just give him the ball and let him work. The Patriots are up next. They get the guy that I think moved up more than anybody in this draft, and that's Patrick Queen, because I didn't even have him in any mock draft, even as deep as 7 rounds. So they get Patrick Queen here. They lost linebackers over the past couple years. They need help. Tom Brady's gone, but no need to talk about that because they're not going to be able to replace him, maybe ever. So let's go ahead and let them build on that defense because the offense could be filled in later rounds because they do have a plethora of picks as well. New Orleans Saints, they did bring back Malcolm Jenkins in safety, but I feel like getting Trayvon Diggs here, 24th pick, they need help in the secondary. They did sign Emmanuel Sanders, or I would have had them taking a wide receiver here like a Justin Jefferson or a Chase Claypool, Denzel Mims. But Emmanuel Sanders is a nice compliment to Michael Thomas, and the running game is solid, Alvin Kamara. So they need help in the secondary with playing in that division. Julio Jones, Mike Evans. they need help there, and I think Trayvon Diggs is a solid fit. Minnesota's up again. I had them looking at secondary as well. If Diggs was there, I think I would replace one brother with another. Instead, they need help in the defensive front, and I think Yatir Gross-Matos falling this far is going to be godsend for them. Slide right in and take over Everson Griffin's position. Line up on the other end of Daniel Hunter and Rick Habit. Speaking of defensive line, uh, Miami now just try to strike gold with somebody, and I think Ross Blacklock, TCU, a guy that also moved up these boards very quickly, very young, young enough to where he can possibly even get a third a big contract, of 4 or 5 years long. He's a redshirt sophomore, but he's young, but he's got talent, and I think just because of the luxury of having third pick, you take a chance on somebody, and I think they take a chance on Tua. Now they can take a chance on Blacklock, and they also have Andrew Thomas. So this draft is just looking really good for Miami. Seattle, Russell Wilson, he's running around all the time, and he makes moves. But he probably would like to have some help on that O line. So Josh Jones here, solid pick. They need help on that O line. They've needed it for years, so they need to finally just go ahead and make it happen. And Josh Jones here, solid pick. Baltimore, the team that I thought was going to be the Super Bowl champions this year. Definitely don't need a quarterback. They finally found their one in Lamar Jackson. They lost some players, tight end, Hayden Hurst, but they still have Mark Andrews. Their secondary is still looking good. They lost linebackers the previous year, so I think getting Kenneth Murray here, who can fit in the inside or the outside, you can't go wrong there. And he's day one starter. That's what they need. Done deal. Sign it, seal it, deliver it. Kenneth Murray to Baltimore. Tennessee, miracle season. Was it Tannehill coming in after Mariota? Was it all Derrick Henry? Young defense. I don't know what it is, but let's go ahead and, since you signed Tannehill, let's protect him. Let's give him Austin Jackson, a very athletic tackle. You lost Jack Conklin. He's not the road grader. He's not the guy that's going to really be, the type of tackle that you want in a run game, but he is a solid player, and I think you put a little bit more weight on him, and he can be that tackle that you need paired up with Taylor Lewan. Green Bay, they need receiving help bad. I'm going to go ahead and give them Justin Jefferson, a guy that could easily gone to the Saints at 24. He had an outstanding year. Him and Jamar Chase, and remember that name because Jamar Chase could be a top 10 pick next year. I think he's even better than Justin Jefferson. Green Bay just does not have any weapons that Aaron Rodgers can throw to. But that just shows you how good Aaron Rodgers is. Plus, the defense is pretty solid. So, getting Justin Jefferson here, 30, can make sure that the 20 season for them can be a little bit more prolific on the offensive side. San Fran, they also need some wide receiver help, and with picking Mekhi Becton early in this draft, their defense is solid. I'm going to give them a guy that people really don't expect to go in the first round, and that's Chase Claypool. Guy is just size speed combo is amazing. I think he is going to be my biggest surprise if he actually ends up getting drafted in the first round. Hopefully I'm the first one that shows it here, because I think he's got the talent for it, and if he gets on this team, I think he's just a solid fit for the 49ers and what John Lynch is looking for. KC to end out the first round. Where do you go for the Super Bowl champions? Obviously, they got the quarterback. They don't really need the running back. Wide receivers could be an upgrade. They got the tight end. The O-line, they franchise Chris Jones. They got good linebackers, good edge rushers. So I went with the secondary here, and I gave them Jalen Johnson out of Utah, a guy that can play pretty much all over that secondary, and just I think he's going to be a day one starter and fit very nicely there in Kansas City. Now to round two, we're going to speed up the process here. Cincinnati, they do have holes all over the place, but I think they need to just give a very solid weapon for um, Joe Burrow and take a tight end because their tight ends can't seem to be their best ones can't seem to be healthy and give a fast riser here. So now you have AJ Green and Adam Trotman, a very athletic tight end for Joe Burrow to grow with. Indiana with their first pick because they traded for DeForest Buckner. They need wide receiver help in a bad way, and I think they get the best one remaining here in Denzel Mims. Great team up with T.Y. Hilton. They are going to need a tight end later in this draft, but Jack Doyle is pretty solid, so maybe they don't go with one. Detroit, after getting Isaiah Simmons, they because he was he going to be safety linebacker. I think they just kind of double dip and get a guy that shouldn't even be on the draft board anymore, and AJ Apencia. Now you have Isaiah Simmons and AJ, and that defense is just now going to look scary. With they do need some secondary help, and they'll get it. I think they can get something late in the rounds. But if you got guys like Isaiah Simmons and AJ Apencia coming after you, the secondary can be anybody. The Giants, they go after edge rusher too, a guy in Zach Bond. And now you have Jedrick Wills on the offense side and a guy in Zach Bond that can wreak havoc, even coming out as a 3-4 edge, a 4-3 edge, 4-3 linebacker, 3-4 line. This guy, he can even play a middle linebacker if needed. He's just a player, and I don't, with his talent, he shouldn't be falling past this pick. Chargers up, they lost running back. Yeah, they signed Eckler, but they still need that everyday back. J.K. Dobbins did it all for Ohio State as a running back, and I think he's the best running back in this draft this year, and I know I'm going to get some heat for that, but Chargers picking him up, solid pick, replaces Melvin Gordon. Carolina Panthers getting Jeffrey Okudah in the first round. Then they need to beef up that defensive line. I say Justin Matabuke out of Texas A&M. He's just too much of a talent. The Quam Short is there. They lost the edge rusher Mero Addison. They have a solid pick in Brian Burns from last year. I think they just need to beef up that interior line and get in a player in Matabuke. It will obviously fit right in with that scheme that they're trying to fit with Matt Rule. Miami, another pick, and it's like, where can they go? They can go so many different places. Take a chance on a running back. There's a couple here. Jonathan Taylor set records, was off the chain at Wisconsin, but I think DeAndre Swift can just do so much more, and just putting him on this team with the future looking very bright. You're just adding weapons now, just for Tua, and you got an offensive line that you're trying to build. You build that defensive line. Miami is just going to look very scary if they keep all the space, which I think they should, and just capitalize on all the capital that they have. Houston is finally up, and wow, did they make a splash in free agency / the trade market. And trading DeAndre Hopkins, well, they need to find a replacement. And in my mind, the best one available is Brandon Ayuk. He had a hell of a season for Arizona State, and I think he's actually better than N'Keal Harry, who came out in his 32nd overall pick for the Patriots last year. I'm saying it now. Brandon Ayuk is going to be move up the depth chart in Houston very, very fast, and don't be surprised if he ends up leading the Houston Texans in receiving this next year. At 41, the Browns worked on the offensive line, and now I think they work on the defensive line, and they get a guy that's he's a mauler. Marlon Davidson, he had a quote saying how, what's not to love about football? You get to beat up a guy and not go to jail for it. The talent, this draft is just ridiculously loaded with talent all over the place. But Marlon Davidson is a favorite of mine in this draft, and I just really looking forward to seeing him play, and I think he just fits the Cleveland Browns mold, history, I'm really excited to see him play in the NFL. Jags up on the clock again, getting a D lineman and a quarterback in the first round. They could use some wide receiver help, and they get a guy with great bloodlines, Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, University of California there, USC Trojan. He's tough. He's bigger than his father. His father was a great running back. Guy had arms that are ridiculous. His father. I remember watching him in Tampa Bay growing up there and during the Super Bowl run, and his son is bigger in size, and watching him play, this is gonna be a great pick for the Jaguars. Chicago's finally on the clock, and with the moves that they've made, obviously not gonna go quarterback. I think they need to just go ahead and help out that secondary. I'd like to see him take a guard here, but I think Antoine Winfield Jr., another guy who got great bloodlines available, he's a ball hawk. And having him and Eddie Jackson sitting back there, man, this defense is the reason why they had the year that they had last year. And maybe Nick Foles comes in and pulls out some miracles if he doesn't get hurt. But I still have Trubisky as a player that I think he's a good quarterback. But they keep making that defense solid. The Bears are going to be pretty good next year just because of that defense. Colts up again already, and they take a chance on a quarterback for the future in Jacob Eason. They signed Philip Rivers for 1 year, and Brissett is obviously not the answer. Jacob Eason is a solid quarterback, transfer from Georgia to Washington, had 1 year at Washington, could have stayed one more year. Talks to him being in the first round. I think Colts taking him here is a very solid pick because he can just chill this year, learn the nuances in the game, and be the starter next year. The Bucks now can beef up that offensive line because they got Javon Kinlaw in the first round. Here they take Lucas Niang. He can play tackle or guard. Donovan Smith, not the answer there. They could use some help inside or out. Tom Brady will be happy with this pick because of the versatility that Lucas brings. So with the 45th pick here, Tampa Bay takes Lucas Niang out of TCU. Up next, Denver. Denver lost Chris Harris, so they're going to need some help in the secondary. I like all these people, all these players remaining, but Jeff Gladney, I think, is the guy that last time TCU put out a player like that was Jason Verrett, and that was a solid player. He played for the Chargers. So Gladney coming out here, 46th pick, he's going to fit in and probably day one starter for the Denver Broncos. At 47, they find the Atlanta Falcons find their tight end replacement for Austin Hooper and Cole Kmet, a late riser as well, early submit to the draft. Didn't see too much tape on him, but I am looking forward to him being in that offense in Atlanta. Next up, the Jets. They took their they took their wide receiver of the future and Jerry Jeudy. So do they double dip and just go after another one? I don't see that as much. But what I do see is they need help with the offensive line. And, they added a lot. But I think they're going to surprise some people here. And they're going to take Ezra Cleveland because he can play guard or tackle. And they need help on the all line, and they've added some pieces, but getting a player with Ezra's ability, and I think this is very early for him, but I think it's gonna be a solid pick. Next up, Pittsburgh. They lost Javon Hargrave, so I think they replace him with Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma. Guy ran a ridiculously 40 size for him, and being able to run like that was second fastest for D lineman. He'll be very nice in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers, the Yellow Towel Nation, they're gonna love him. Bears are up. They need some. They need to find a replacement at guard. So they're gonna go with. There's a couple people I think they can go with in this draft. The guy that I feel like can be the best guy to replace Kyle Long is Robert Hunt out of Louisiana Lafayette. He's a sleeper in my book here. got it moved up, had solid. After the season ended, he had a great um, practices with the Senior Bowl and such like that, and he moved up, East West Shrine game and all that. So I'm definitely looking forward to this guy playing in the NFL because I think he's gonna be a solid pick. Dallas gets the guy that fell faster than somebody jumping off the Empire State Building, Grant Delpit, just because he can't tackle. And I saw him going at 17 about 2 months ago. Now he's going to the Cowboys at 51. So they solidified their secondary there with him. They have a great edge guy in Chason. So Grant Delpit, solid player. I just didn't see him being a first round pick. I know he's got a first round grade, but he drops in my book, and Cowboys will happily grab him. The Rams go ahead and take their Todd Gurley replacement and Jonathan Taylor, the best remaining running back here, who lit up the college football world with record-breaking stats at Wisconsin, and that says a lot because of all the running backs they've had, and he'll fit cheaply in that system because that's what they really need is just to find someone cheap that can play. Philadelphia is going to get a steal in the draft here in my book, and Kyle Duggar, rated as a first-round draft pick in many mocks. Guy can play safety or a linebacker. They're just filling holes there. They got the wide receiver in the first round. They got Darius Slade, now getting Kyle Duggar. They've solidified that secondary for that team, and that's going to be very interesting to watch in the next couple years. Buffalo, I had them going a couple different places, but since they traded and got Stephon Diggs, I figured they'd go on the edge and take Joshua Uche, who can play the linebacker or the edge, kind of be like a Jerry Hughes type player or Lorenzo Alexander. So he just fits in just the kind of mold that Buffalo is, and Buffalo is probably going to be the AFC champ next year. Baltimore needing a replacement for the retired Marshall Yanda. I give them Lloyd Cushenberry, who can play the center or the guard position. Played with a great quarterback last year, and now you're going to play with arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. He's pretty mobile, a great point of attack, so he'll slide in day one and play for Baltimore. Miami's up again and just adding pieces, and this time they add a guy in the secondary, and Ashton Davis to just adding to that secondary. You got Byron Jones, and I got Ashton Davis to go with Xavier Howard. It's scary that the team that this team can build and be in the near future. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what happens, and hopefully it all comes together for them. Because growing up, I liked them back in the Zach Thomas days, so we'll see. Houston here also hits on a guy that I think can play multiple positions in the secondary, in Damon Arnett. And you have Justin Reed there. You have a guys that took chances on. They lost Kevin Johnson 2 years ago, so I think Damon Arnett can come in and be a dime package guy and start, but eventually be a starter either in the safety or D-back. Minnesota's up, and speaking of secondary, they need help there because they lost a lot, losing Mackenzie Alexander, Trey Waynes, so getting A.J. Terrell from Clemson, a guy that did respectable against Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase when he had to in the championship game, but I think that's a bad tape to watch of him, but throughout the rest of the season, he was solid and definitely worthy of this pick. Seattle getting the offensive line help they needed now goes to the defensive line, and they get a player who can play the edge and the inside if needed, and Bradley Ane, not going to jump out off on the tape with anything that you watch of him, but just fundamentally sound technician, can play the out or the inside, passing downs, rushing. He's long. He was very solid for Utah, and I think he'll be very solid for Seattle. Baltimore has a wide receiver fall to them who got a lot of first round grades in Jalen Reagor, and that's just speed upon speed upon speed. That's what you're giving to this offense. matched with his players last year. Oh man, this just Lamar Jackson. If that defense can tighten up and get Murray in the first round is a great start. I can see the Baltimore Ravens giving the Chiefs a very tough run for that Super Bowl appearance. Titans going to go inside here and take a defensive lineman to pair with last year's top pick, Jeffrey Simmons. Dangerous. This team is going to be dangerous next year, I think. They didn't lose too many players, and they're adding to that team, the players that they did lose. So watch out for them. I think they're going to have a fast start and kind of like level out towards the end of the year. But then the Titans are going to be back in the playoffs, maybe make a run and go in it. But the AFC is going to be very tough next year. Green Bay keeps adding to that offense that they need to just continue to add to, and getting Hunter Bryant here, a guy that can be a Evan Ingram for the Giants type player, tight end / wide receiver. He's gonna just giving weapons to Rodgers is dangerous, and that defense is already pretty solid. So the Packers are probably going to end up being a favorite to win again the NFC North. The Chiefs up here, I haven't taken a running back. They don't really need one per se, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, falling this far, you have to grab him. And with all the other offensive weapons, he's going to be afterthought, and that's going to be scary because you give him the ball, he can be very dangerous for this team. And they have already so many dangerous weapons. So I think they continue to be very good. And I'm looking forward to watching how he fits into this system. And with the last pick in the second round, Seattle beefs up more. That offensive line takes Cesar Ruiz, a guy that can play center or guard. So now you have a tackle, a center guard play inside, outside on the offensive line for Seattle. You get a defensive player that can play inside and out. You're just putting the pieces together. Seattle is looking towards the future. And with Russell, as long as you got Russell Wilson, you're going to be okay. So I appreciate everything. Thank you for watching this mock draft. That's Kyler Murray, the Rookie of the Year last year. Everyone, please stay safe. I'm going to be doing team-by-team mocks coming soon. Just everything that's going on out there. I wish everybody the best. And before the actual draft, I'll have a 3-round mock coming out too. Take care.